Rule applies for multiplying and dividing integers. So if you multiply two integers that are both negatives, what will the result be?
Positive.
Good. And then if they're both positive, the answer will be positive. Good. And then if you have a negative times a positive, the result will be negative, and then a positive times a negative, negative. So one way you can remember this is if both of the signs are the same. Okay, so if it has the same sign, so if it's two negatives or two positives, it's going to be positive. If it has a different sign, it will be negative. Okay, so if the signs are different. And when you multiply, it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. For example, if you have 5 times 2, what's the answer?
10.
10. Or if you multiply 2 times 5, the answer is still 10. So the order doesn't matter for multiplication. That's why if I turn this into a negative, negative 5 times 2 is negative 10, or positive 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. You're still going to get the same result, no matter what the order is, okay? Okay, so we're going to look at a few examples. A negative, so you always want to look at the signs. We have a negative, and if there's no sign, we know it's automatically positive, right? So a negative times a positive is a negative, and then you just look at the numbers. 2 times 4, 8. Here, when you have brackets, this still means multiplication. Okay, we're still multiplying these two numbers together. And what is the sign of both of them?
Positive.
They're both positive, so the answer will be
56.
yeah. And you can put the positive sign there, or you can just leave it as 56, because if a number doesn't have a sign, it's positive, okay? Here we have a negative times a negative, so you know the answer will be
Positive.
good. Oops. And 9 times 8,
72.
good. And then we have negative times a negative again. Is it positive? 9 times 9?
81.
81, good. Now here we have 0 times a negative. Anything times 0 is what?
0.
Good. There's no such thing as a positive or negative 0. This still counts as an integer, but it's just 0. Okay, so even if I had 0 times negative 20, it's still just 0. Okay, so the same rule applies. First we want to look, okay, we're multiplying a negative times what?
Positive.
A positive. So we know that the answer to this times this will be negative, right? So I'm going to put that here. Whatever the answer is, it's negative something, and then it's going to be a negative times a negative. So what's the answer going to be?
Positive.
Right, and you can look at the question, and I can see that I have 2 negatives and 1 positive. Well, 2 negatives make a positive, and then with another positive, it's still going to be positive. Okay, so what's the answer? 21 times 9 times 16.
I got 3,000.
So 3,024, and as long as the sign is correct, then check our answer with the calculator, it's correct. With division, the same rule applies. So we have a negative divided by a positive. The answer will be
Negative.
negative, good. And then 15 divided by 5 is 3. Yeah, so the answer is negative 3. Okay, and again, a positive times a negative will give us what?
Negative.
A negative. So what's 3 times 10?
30.
So negative 30. And negative times a negative will be
Positive.
positive. And then 30 times 1 is 30. Good. Okay, for D, positive times a negative.
It's a negative.
Good. And what's 15 times 10?
150.
150 times a positive. So we have a negative times a positive.
Negative.
Negative. So it's helpful to put the sign first, and then we can just calculate 150 times 50 is 750. So negative 750. Good. Okay, and then the last one, we have a negative divided by a positive.
It's a negative.
Negative, and 4 goes into 32 8 times. First of all, we want to look at the signs. So we have a positive 40 times something will give us a negative. So a positive times what has to be a negative?
Negative.
Good. Okay, so we automatically know that this missing number is negative. And I want to know what the missing number is. So 40 times something is 800. Well, what's the opposite of multiplication?
Divide.
Division, right? So if I take the result, which is 800, and I divide it by 40, I'll get the missing factor, because opposite of multiplying is dividing. So 800 divided by 40 is 20, and you can check your answer is 40 times negative 20, negative 800. Yes. Okay, so for the next one, we have something times a negative is a negative. So what does this missing number have to be for the good? So it's going to be positive. Well, how many times does 11 go into 132?
12.
So that means 11 times 12 is 132. So positive 12 times negative 11 is negative 132. Okay, so positive times something is a positive, so we know it has to be a positive, and 25 times 100. You guys both got that? Good. And then the last one, what sign does it have to be?
Negative.
Good, because a negative times a positive is a negative. And what's the missing factor?
8.
Negative 8. Good. Okay. FedMath says that we need to calculate division and multiplication in the order it appears. So the first operation is multiplication. So we want to calculate this part first, okay? So what's a negative 3 times a negative 8?
Positive.
Good. Positive 24. So let's write that underneath. Okay, so negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. I have to take that positive 24 and I have to divide it by a negative 4. Okay, we're doing the last step. We're doing this part now. We've calculated the first operation. Now we have to complete it. We have to divide it by negative 4. And a positive divided by a negative is
Negative.
negative, and 24 divided by 4 is
6.
good. So our answer is negative 6. Okay? Okay, so this says 6 times 6 divided by negative 4. So we want to simplify our numerator. What's 6 times 6?
36.
Good, and they're both positives. Divided by a negative 34, or you can rewrite this as 36 divided by a negative 4. Doesn't make a difference. And we have a positive divided by a negative.
Negative.
Good, negative. And 36 divided by 4,
9.
9. Good. If I rewrite this like this, negative 63 divided by negative 7, and this means times, right? Times negative 9. Well, because the first operation is division, we can do this part first. Negative 63 divided by negative 7. We're still going to get the same answer, but a negative divided by a negative,
Positive.
positive, good. How many times does 7 go into 63?
9.
9 times. And we have 9, and then what's the next thing we have to do, Leslie? Times.
Negative 9.
Good. Oops. 9 times negative 9. Positive times a negative is
A negative.
Negative.
negative 81. Divided by positive 12.
Negative 12.
Good. Negative 12 divided by negative 3. A negative divided by a negative.
It's positive.
Positive. And 12 divided by 3.
4.
Good.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.